I know some really brave women. It just took me a while to realize that they were the source of my inspiration. Back in the 1960s, my parents got married and they immigrated from India to the United States. My mom was from a very small town, or should I probably more appropriately say small village, and soon after she met my father and got married, they had to travel and move halfway across the world. And as the story goes, they landed with her wearing nothing more than a sari, a thin sweater, and sandals, being greeted in Cleveland, Ohio by 2 feet of snow. She barely spoke the language, only couldn't rely on her friends and family at home. Well, over the years, she has definitely gone from small-town girl to global-minded woman and broad-minded woman. About 20-some-odd years ago, her broad-mindedness was really put to the test. I took home my blonde-haired, blue-eyed boyfriend at the time who wanted to marry me. It wasn't going to be an arranged marriage, but rather a love marriage. He didn't want to be a doctor, he wanted to be a rock star. He wasn't studying engineering, he was studying politics. And yet, my mother took the time to get to know him, to see who he was and what he was all about. And she welcomed him into our family, and over the years has grown to truly love him. I know another really brave woman, my aunt, who still lives in India. Her husband was taken from her prematurely. She was left to raise 2 children on her own, as well as run the family business. This is no easy task in India. Well, I'm happy to report that she has succeeded on all fronts, and here we are years later, and people still look at her and say, "Oh, that poor thing." I look at her and say, "Oh, what a brave woman." These experiences serve as the foundation of my passion around working with organizations and their brave women who want to move into leadership get there. I realize times have changed since what they were for my aunt or for my mother. In fact, when I talk to universities nowadays, many of them report that many of their majors or degree programs have 50% women, or at least a lot more women than they used to. Many of them are graduating more women than men. When you think about school-age kids, educators around the world are reporting that more girls are getting A's than boys. More girls are applying for scholarships than boys. In fact, even in developing countries like Barbados, Antigua, the United Nations recently reported that girls are taking more leadership roles than boys. More and more women are choosing to become leaders in their own right. Things are changing. However, progress is slow. Over the last 20 years in my professional career in human resources, many of the organizations I've worked with have come to me and said, "Can you help us do something about getting more women into senior leadership roles?" So, based on my personal experience, I think they're committed. They want to do this. However, as women climb the organizational ladders, they disappear. There's a lot of data around this. One recent statistic I came upon by McKinsey shared that in the past decade, there's only been a 2% increase in the number of women in senior level roles, on board roles, I should say more specifically. Some of you might be thinking to yourself right now, well, I think I know why women disappear as they climb those organizational ladders. Some things that I've heard are, women aren't as committed as men. Once a woman has a baby, it's all over. I've asked a woman or two to take a more senior role, and they often say no. Well, I've had the privilege and the opportunity to work with and speak to many women around the world who are very ambitious, are interested in a fulfilling career, want to lead, and are willing to take risks to do it. Many of these same women have families or want families. Like the brave women in my family, many women around the world are bucking the system every day. And that's why it's become clear to me that rather than women standing in their own way, which is oftentimes the perception, there are some organizational barriers that are quite fixable. That's why, as we stand here today, organizations have an opportunity to transform the way they support and develop women leaders. I'd like to share 3 highlights with you. First, Carnegie Mellon University, 1995. This is an extremely reputable university in the United States. One of their specialties, technology. In 1995, they looked at their program of computer programming majors and said, wow, there's only 7% women. We'd like to change this. Needless to say, they did not use a single-pronged approach. However, this is such a notable story because the most powerful thing in their approach is that they said, let's consider our selection criteria. Time and time again, there was one question: do you have prior programming experience? For some reason or another, the male applicants had more of this than the female applicants. They said, wait a second, aren't we in the business of teaching students how to program? Why, yes, we are. So they changed this criteria. In 5 years, close to 40% of their students were women. So first point, organizations have an opportunity to transform the way they support and develop women leaders by ensuring that they don't have criteria in place that is inadvertently preventing women from coming into organizations or moving up in organizations. Second study I'd like to share with you. This is a social science study. There's many like this, but this one I particularly liked. It stuck with me. Job of police chief. This is a job that's typically held by men. There's a selection committee. The selection committee said, our most important criteria is education. There was a series of resumes. All the resumes were virtually identical in every way, with the exception of the fact that one resume always has a little bit more education and the other always has a little bit more experience. First 2 resumes presented to selection committee, no names. The selection committee selects the resume with more education. Second set of resumes presented to the selection committee. Man's name has the resume with more education. Woman's name is on the other. Selection committee selects the applicant with more education, the man. Third set of resumes presented to the selection committee. Woman's name on resume with more education. Man's on other. Right before their very eyes, the selection committee starts shifting their criteria. You know, education's really important, but when you're talking about a job like police chief, experience is what counts. Guess who got selected? The man. The moral of the story, organizations have an opportunity to transform the way they support and develop women leaders by ensuring once there's solid criteria in place, those people who are responsible for bringing women into an organization or moving women up in an organization follow the criteria, that they stick with it, and that they don't inadvertently shift it. Third highlight I'd like to share with you. This is a quote from Catalyst. Catalyst is a foremost authority on research in the area of women in leadership around the world. Women are promoted based on performance, men on potential. Organizations have their third opportunity here to transform the way they support and develop women leaders by getting to high potential talented women early and promoting them based on potential as you would their male counterparts and fast-tracking them to the top. It has been shown time and time again that when you get to the women early, they're far more likely to take these roles because they have fewer dependencies in their personal life. Also, when women are promoted based on potential, as are their male counterparts, they get to make more money, exert more organizational influence, hone their leadership skills. they're far more apt to stay the course. And even if they do step out because there's some complexities in their personal life, they're far more likely to re-enter. Why? Because there's too much to leave on the table. How do you fast-track them to the top? By leveraging what has been proven to be the most powerful leadership development tool out there, working and living abroad. Just like my mother, from small-town girl to global-minded woman. So, working and living abroad is not new, is it? But using it as a development tool is. What does it look like? It could be short-term assignments, which are on the rise, growing exponentially. Long-term assignments, global nomad, people that move from nation to nation. It could be self-initiated, which far more women are doing. It can be organizational initiated. Outside of an organizational context, what does working and living abroad look like? Look at university students. More are taking a gap year to work in a different nation than ever before. Look at your work teams. Look at your clients. Look at your neighborhood. There's such great diversity, people from all kinds of different backgrounds. Global experience enables you to get results when working with different people from different perspectives. I'm not just talking about doing business on the other side of the world. I'm talking about doing business in your own hometown, among diverse groups of people with diverse perspectives. So why is this such a powerful development tool? Well, you've heard the expression, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. I'm talking about walking a mile in somebody else's shoes in their neighborhood. It's full immersion. If that doesn't breed a sense of growing your own perspective or understanding somebody else's perspective, I'm not sure what will. This is the foundation of global-mindedness. Oftentimes, we use different tools and exercises to help truly demonstrate how powerful perspective is. In fact, we ran a small sample among our community here prior to today's session to demonstrate just that. Here's the scenario. I'd like to share it with you. There's a teacher. The teacher has a spectacular student. This student has always gotten A's, top of her class. There's no reason she couldn't go to the university that she has had her eyes set on for 3.5 years now. Except for the fact that this semester she has fallen ill quite a bit. She just had to submit a paper that was worth 40% of her grade. You, the teacher, get the paper and you realize it's not the student's own work. You get 2 choices and 2 choices alone. A, you can report the plagiarism to the authorities. It will go down on her permanent record, and it will most definitely ruin her chances of getting into this dream university. B, you grade it as if it is the student's own work. And she has every opportunity to get into that dream university. Quite a dilemma, isn't it? Well, let's take a look and see how people in our community responded. What seems to be simple is actually not so simple. This really is a dilemma. So what are we saying here? That the Americans will always, 100% of the time, say this is the rule, stick with it, no forgiveness, forget the past 3.5 years of hard work. Oh well, so much for that dream university. That the Germans will always be 50-50, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. That the Dutch will always look the other way and say, let her go, let her go. No, that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. What we are saying and what we believe is that there is no culture in the world that wants to punish this innocent girl. It was a mistake. There's no culture that wants to condone lying. But what this underscores, even in our small sample group, is the power of perspective. Our underlying cultural values strongly, strongly influence how we approach dilemmas. At a point in time when we consider our future success as a society, we look to our leaders, our political leaders, our religious leaders, our business, academic, and thought leaders to help us make good decisions. The challenges leaders now face are moving away from problems and moving towards dilemmas. A problem can be solved, a dilemma can only be managed, and this was just a simple dilemma. A leader's chance of success is closely related to the number of options he or she can identify. An organization's opportunity for success relies on the number of diverse perspectives their leaders can bring to the table. That is why it is so critical to cultivate broad-minded thinking. And at a time when prime ministers to presidents are banging the drum for more women leaders, organizations have an opportunity to transform the way they support and develop women leaders by removing barriers that may be inadvertently stopping women from coming in or moving up in organizations, and organizations have an opportunity to fast-track women to the top by leveraging the most powerful development tool out there, working and living abroad. Thank you.